Today we're going to talk about a 529 plan hack that nobody's talking about. Thinking about 529 plans and tax strategies and some ideas that we could do to be as tax efficient as we possibly can be, because that's one thing that we pride ourselves on at Holistic Planning, is really paying attention to that. The idea is this. We have several clients, and you might be one of them, that have contributed a sizable amount of money, maybe early in their child's life, to sort of pre-fund their college education. So they might say, okay, hey, I'm going to go ahead and put $30,000 into a 529 plan when the child is at a pretty young age, with the idea being that by the time they're 18 years old, we're going to have this big lump sum of money, and it's all going to be tax-free, and they can use that money to go to college. But the inevitable question should arise, which is, what happens if the child doesn't want to go to college? What happens if the child gets a scholarship? What happens if, you name it, the child were to pass away, or whatever the unexpected thing may be? There's, of course, lots of rules to understand about 529 plans that allow for you to change the beneficiary. So if they don't end up needing the money, you could make the beneficiary in the future their kids, for example, or anybody that's related to the original beneficiary. So there are certainly things that you can do, but the one thing that it's really important to understand and remind yourself about on 529 plans is, as long as that money's in that 529, the only way that money is coming out totally tax-free, that profit is coming out totally tax-free, is if that money is used for some kind of a qualified distribution. And those qualified distributions used to be, just generally speaking, college, okay? University expenses, trade school, etc. Recently, however, there's been a change to where those rules have changed to where now you're able to use that money for primary school, for elementary school, etc., high school, private middle school, etc. It's an eligible distribution. So one thing that we've seen a lot of people do, or that we've recommended that a lot of people do, is, for example, one client comes to mind that did this, where they, at an early age, when the kids were 3 years old, we put a bunch of money in these accounts and funded these accounts, and we've had substantial gains on those 529 plans. And he is fully intending that that money is going to be used for college. But as a way to sort of, I guess you could say, hedge his bets, what we've done is, his kids in particular are going to private school right now. They're, I think, in second and third grade. And so every year for that school, he pays for that tuition for the private school out of his personal checking account. But what we do as a way to increase the cost basis on that 529 plan is we take a distribution from the 529 plan in the exact amount as the bill for the elementary school was. All right, so if he spent $7,500 on his kid's private school tuition, for example, then we do a $7,500 distribution from the 529 plan, and then we immediately turn around and recontribute that $7,500 back into the 529 plan. Now, why would we do such a thing? The whole reason that we do it is because it increases the client's cost basis on the 529 plan. Now, to be crystal clear, if the kids end up going to college, and if the kids end up using the money for college for qualified expenses down the road, then the whole exercise would have been a waste of time, okay, frankly. However, more and more kids, I think these days, or maybe, there's a higher probability that they may not end up going to college, or they may end up doing something entirely different. And so by doing this increases the cost basis. So what do I mean by that, cost basis? So let's use some easy math, for example. Let's say that my client contributed $30,000, and now that $30,000 has grown to $60,000, and then we do this distribution. We take $7,500 out of the 529 plan, and we put that $7,500 back into the 529 plan. Well, when you do a distribution from a 529 plan, the distribution is partially a return of principal and partially gains, okay? And I believe the way that calculation would be done is that it would be pro rata. So for example, if you had 30,000 was basis, 30,000 is what I put in, and you have 30,000 of gains, then when you take $7,500 out, half of that $7,500 would be a return of principal, half of it would be gains. $3,750 of that would be gains. So by doing this, by taking that $7,500 out and recontributing that $7,500 back into the 529 plan, my client increased their cost basis from what was $30,000 to now almost $34,000. All right. So why is that beneficial? That's beneficial because if down the road, when the child turns 18, if for some reason we end up not using that money for education, for one of these reasons that we mentioned before, maybe they either don't need it, they decide not to go to school, they passed away, they got a scholarship, whatever it may be, we would then have the option, we would be able to draw out that $34,000, okay, and that extra $4,000 anyways, and we would not have to pay income taxes and we would not have to pay any 10% penalty on that $4,000. And there's not any cost to do this. The only, I guess, real potential cost is that in this particular person's case, their money would be out of the stock market for, I guess, one day. So there's a little bit of a risk that, that the market would go up on that day that their money was not invested. But generally speaking, that's a risk that they're willing to take. So, and again, as a reminder, the reason that this works, the reason that this hack works is because of the change where now qualified expenses include elementary school, private high school, etc., whereas it didn't used to. So that's a hack that most people haven't thought of, is this idea of taking money out and recontributing it back to the plan. So if you're interested in that and you want to talk to us about that, please go check out our website, give us a call. If you go to our website, you can set up a free meeting on Calendly, and we'd be happy to visit with you and share more about this information and hopefully add value to your life.